Everybody? We got a few people in already.
Yes. Welcome, Alex. Thank you.
Alex did jump on earlier when I did the test stream at like 11 this morning.
I appreciate the dedication there. That's awesome.
Shout out to Alex. Been waiting all day.
Yeah. We're going to give it another minute or so before we get started here. Alex, feel free to, if you do partake, feel free to jump in with us and have a drink. We're just going to keep it casual and chat it up tonight. Feel free to jump in too if you have any thoughts for the chat. We'll be asking some questions as we go along.
So don't let Carver peer pressure you into drinking if that's not your thing.
Actually, Alex, go ahead and submit a photo of your drink. You too, Johnny.
Can you send photos on this?
I have no idea. I doubt it.
Oh, probably not.
I highly doubt it. No. Locked in. Hello, Chaz. I was just with you on the stream with Jake for 50 Plus Done Air. That was fun. They had some cool graphics for the Pokal.
Wait, you were on something with Jake?
No, I was just in the audience watching.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope they get it on set up, and they did.
This is me being a terrible friend again. When I forgot last time we had Jake on and I ruined everything, and then this time I'm like, you were on with him, and I was like, yeah, I know this time he was just doing a live show. I'm not just forget everything. He's never gonna come visit us again because I'm an a-hole.
Right. Probably. All right, do we want to get going?
Yeah, we can get started. Well, let's start with did you already open yours?
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Well, I'll kick this off with
everyone crack it open. I didn't have any champagne. I just got some soju.
What is that exactly? What is it?
Soju.
Okay. I have, although it is a Bavarian style lager, I had to go with a friend. They're not officially sponsors or anything, but shout out to Urban Chestnut, German style brewery.
Get it on the mic. There you go.
That was real good. That was real loud.
That was nice.
So cheers. Prost. I didn't tell my wife the special occasion, so she's just gonna be like, "Why is there a huge pack of beer in our fridge?"
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jacob. Almost forgot how to do the intro because we're doing a little different tonight because we're celebrating our 100th episode. Carver, how's it going, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been very excited for this. I'm happy we got some people here to hang out with us. It feels like yesterday that we started this, and every few weeks I kept looking at the number like, damn, we're getting close to 100, and here we are finally. So what a night to celebrate it. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. We probably would have got to 100 a lot sooner if we were like kind of like those typical podcasters who just do every breaking news, every rumor, every transfer gossip and everything. But we do enjoy having a nice little break in the off season. So it didn't go too crazy. Also, I just feel like this lining up perfectly with kind of the official kickoff to the season. We've done a few like off season reviews and a little bit like previewing the new season and signings, but there's been quite a bit of news even since the last time we've done an episode. And now with the match this weekend, it's kind of all perfect, like hitting 100 right before leading up to match week. So I'm not mad about maybe not hitting it sooner. Like I think it all works out pretty great.
For sure. Yeah, we're going to keep it pretty casual tonight. Just here to celebrate. We got some things to talk about. We were going to try to quickly hit on Marco Reus finally being announced at LA Galaxy. Talk about Max Bayer and the recent signing for him. General feelings on some new additions. We'd love to get some thoughts here from the audience when you guys have those ready. And talk about the preview, a little Q&A if we got some time here, if anybody has any questions, and then a shout out here and there, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, so starting with Marco Reus, long time coming, a lot of speculation there. The saga, as people are referring to it, has officially ended, and he's officially, as of this morning, yesterday, if you're listening back on the podcast, but announced with the LA Galaxy. Carver, you did you joined. I know you joined our friends at Flyover Footy to talk about just Reus in MLS, and what he can bring. Like what, as I know, not an LA Galaxy fan, obviously. And not those expectations for what he can bring with that team. But what do you kind of see his performance looking like the next couple years in MLS? Whether it's like a big output or not? Like, what do you see?
Well, I'm still curious myself to see where exactly he slots in. If anybody here is a Galaxy fan or even just frequent watcher of them, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts of where he's going to maybe fit in tactically because, they have a pretty solid front line at the moment. And, he has dropped deeper and deeper over the years. He's adjusted his game a number of times too. So he's definitely pretty tactically flexible. But I'm imagining he's going to be a bit more of that midfielder rather than winger in this Galaxy side. But he could probably be plugged in a number of different roles. It's just a shame that we're not going to see him in here in St. Louis. I know that's why I was on that show, is to see if we can maybe. It was around that time that rumors were circulating of us potentially getting his signature, but he chose the California sunshine. And as much as that I'm a huge, huge stan of this city, I don't really fault him for wanting to go to LA for that reason. So
Yeah. So, I mean, Carver says us, and I mean, because we both live in St. Louis. If there's anyone who is new to the show who maybe doesn't know, Carver and I are both based in St. Louis. Yeah, we both got it. Or, Bruce, yeah, STL Scarves repping. There was a lot of talk of him joining back up with Berkey and coming to St. Louis, which is also why someone in our Discord, which I will give a quick plug to our Discord. There should be a link in the description on this YouTube video if you want to join our Discord if you're not there already. Someone said, forget who it was, but it said, oh, are we all getting LA Galaxy jerseys now for Marco? And I said, absolutely not. I love him, but I'm not doing that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, makes sense. Galaxy is a great team this year. It'll be interesting to see where he fits. I think it's going to be a lot, maybe more of like an 8-10 role because I feel like Ricky Puig is a little more deep lying or can be a little more deep lying. So kind of sitting in that 10 role. It's going to be interesting if he's able to stay healthy, which I think he will be able to because I just don't think there's going to be as much physical demand. MLS is a very physical league and it's a long season, and the travel is serious. Like you travel a ton, but I don't know if LA Galaxy is going to put as much expectations on him necessarily. Like kind of just let him contribute when he can. That's what I foresee. I have no idea, but it'll be cool to watch him in the league and just, I don't know, see how things happen. And I did put the invite out on our Discord, another plug. If you want to come hang with us in St. Louis, September 1st, 9-1 to Sunday afternoon game. St. Louis is playing LA Galaxy. I don't think he's going to play. I think that's too soon with him just getting to LA. And he's at a long off season. Maybe. Yeah. I feel like he's going to make the trip and come. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see him and Berkey dabbing it up or talking a little after post-match. I don't know. We'll see.
But not could be potentially close to that meeting between the two. As if anyone else doesn't know, he's I'll let you talk, but part of the media team for City. So he will be on the pitch there, maybe in between them both.
If my
for that iconic moment.
If my coworkers don't try to restrain me.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to do
I'll fight them off for you.
I'm a professional. I don't do anything crazy, but it'll be pretty cool. Everyone's invited. Everyone can come down, and that can be our celebration. So Marco Royce, MLS, done deal. And then, what next? I mean, we got a lot of signings, a lot in the last couple. Like I said, it's been a few weeks, if not more, since our last episode with Dortmund Dispatch guys, where we talked about incomings, potential outgoings, and we've got a couple more in the meantime, I believe. If I'm not,
let's start with Max Bayer, the biggest signing of the summer for 30 million euros, roughly around that fee, with some bonuses as well added on. The contract's going to be valid till 2029. This is going to be primarily the replacement for Niklas Füllkrug, who left for West Ham about a week ago or so. Not a like for like in terms of player profiles by any means, but just, positionally, Bayer has, played a number of roles along that front line. He's been a part of a 2-striker system as well, so he can really play off the likes of Guirassy pretty well, I imagine. 16 goals in the Bundesliga last year. Stands at 6 feet tall, but he's got a small frame, so he's better in tight spaces than most might give him credit for. You can also see how long his legs are, so he can, make these long and fast strides into space. Of glaring examples whenever he punished us twice, actually, back in February when he played against Dortmund this season. He's going to make a lot of runs. Like I mentioned off Guirassy already. I'm excited about this player. He's also Hoffenheim's youngest ever Bundesliga debutant at 17 years old. Can you guess who previously held that record, Jake, or anyone in the chat if you want to throw that guess out there if anybody knows?
At Hoffenheim specifically?
Yes. Yep. Their youngest Bundesliga debutant after Bayer. give you a little hint. It's also a Dortmund player.
Okay,
right
I was
now.
gonna guess Kobel, but I don't know if that's right. I don't think that's right.
Niklas Süle.
That was gonna be my second guess, Carver. You didn't give me enough time. You didn't even give it time for people in the chat. Come on, man.
That's fair. That's fair. Dortmund also has a good video on their YouTube channel. They uploaded the other day for Bayer's first day in Dortmund, which is a cool watch. You get a little behind the scenes for just the signing and just the process of how all that works whenever he arrives at the club, a process that Jake is actually rather very familiar with. I don't know if you got a chance to check that out, Jake, but very cool. And just get a little insight of how that stuff works. And also just like the facilities around the club too, outside of just like the footballing aspect, which is cool to see.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. But I did. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like just some of the interviews they were posting on Instagram. I need to watch the long form stuff. But this signing, like me personally, like I'm excited that we're going back. Last year we saw a lot of like more new, like not new, older, experienced players, and this feels very much like getting the young guy for the future. I feel like will be able to have a really good impact this year, but long term, locked him down. He's so young and he can be with us for a really long time, which I think is really exciting.
Very young, but again, has been a part of the Bundesliga since before COVID at this point. He's only 21, but he has it's not like he's been at a certain level for a long time, but he has been at this, high Bundesliga level for quite some time now. And he's had some stints elsewhere on loan, but he's seeing the quality that he's brought for several years now. So this is definitely an exciting addition. And again, if anybody else has any other additional thoughts on him, please feel free to throw it in the chat. I'd love to hear what other people think. Sorry to cut you off.
No, yeah. I mean, just young, but already really experienced. So it's not like we signed a young kid and maybe we'll see something good from him. Like we'll be able to see contributions this season, which is exciting, especially with Guirassy out at the beginning of the season. And Haller, I mean, we can talk about striker situation. Like I'm still, it's funny looking back last year when we signed Füllkrug and we were both like, do we really need to sign this guy? And the answer was yes. And he very quickly became like kind of a cult hero, especially now with him just riding off into the Premier League sunset with West Ham. And I'm really sad to see him go. Honestly, I wish he could have stuck around this year. And I don't know where if it's like having issues getting Haller out. Like obviously Füllkrug coming off the Euros is a much hot topic, or like a hotter player. And it was easier to be able to sell him. And given Haller and all his health issues, like obviously it's easier to sell Füllkrug, right? But I'm not necessarily happy about it. And I still don't know what's going to happen with Haller. And yeah, we brought Guirassy in. And I know his what he did in the Bundesliga season last year was incredible. But I think you rewind. I think we keep Füllkrug around. We don't sign Guirassy, and I would have been a happier man. But I am really excited, not taking anything away from Bayer. Very excited for him. There's just a lot more up in the air, I think, going into this season, especially with Guirassy starting off already injured, and who knows what's going on with Haller. And it looks like we're trying to get Moukoko out as well. So where do you see, like, what's your hierarchy of strikers? Who is starting? I'll say Bundesliga match day 1, because I think we might see the lineup we see this weekend might not be exactly what we see the following week.
Oh, for sure. And there was a lot of uncertainty, at least from my perspective. I feel like there was a lot of uncertainty of how the striker system was going to work just like a week ago, because we went from having literally 4 strikers, all of tremendous quality, and Nuri Sahin saying, we're not going to start the season with 4 strikers. And then within a few days, we almost lose all of them, right? Füllkrug's out the door for reasons that we can all understand. Haller doesn't look like he's going to be here much longer, unfortunately. We've touched on him. Who the hell knows what where he's going to end up? I mean, the deal has been falling through with Marseille, with Lille. I have no idea what the future lies for him. And so this signing for Bayer was absolutely necessary. And Andrew mentioned in the chat that he's got to start the first Bundesliga game. I would argue that as well. I mean, his fitness levels doesn't look like he missed much of any games last year. I think he started like 29 out of the 34 Bundesliga games. And with, like you mentioned, with Guirassy out, with Haller's future being uncertain, same with Moukoko, I'm imagining I can see Bayer getting maybe 15, anywhere between like 10 and 20 minutes in the Pokal maybe. and then just, gaining that fitness, that match fitness specifically, and then just being ready to hit the ground running come the next weekend for the Bundesliga. That's what I'm expecting. But to go back to your question about the hierarchy, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory at this point of just Guirassy, of course, whenever he's fit and healthy. Whether Bayer is going to be up there with him as a two-striker system, some of us have, hinted that Shaheen may be looking at that at times. Who knows? We'll have to see. Obviously, a little bit more with just consistent matches coming up. But after that, I mean, who knows who's going to be here in the next month? So it's going to be those two for sure, and then wherever Haller and Mukoko end up, I guess we'll have to just wait and see for them. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
I did want to shout out Andrew, Andrew E, who said Shirley Bayer starts first Bundesliga game. I know you mentioned that. Just want to give him a quick shout out. My only question is, like, I don't know what his preseason was looking like with Hoffenheim. I don't know how much minutes he was getting just to get ramped up for the season. I'm sure, I'm sure it was fine. I'm sure he had a pretty normal preseason. And then coming to us, my only thing is, like, is he going to be ready or like understand the system well? The fact that he's a striker makes me less concerned. It's like, just put him up there and let him and get him the ball. Right? Yeah. But it does take a little bit of time to get familiar with how strikers make runs and how you can connect or link up with them. But yeah, I'm not too concerned. I wouldn't be mad at all if I saw him starting on match day 1, or, I mean, there is a really good chance that we test him out this weekend, right, in the Pokal, and then if he is firing or if he's looking really good, or you just let that be the extra run out he needs to be able to perform match day 1, like, yeah, I wouldn't be mad about it. Do you know much about his preseason? Like, I know we did see Haller get quite a few minutes, and then the other option too is, I know there's a lot of talk during the offseason about Malen and Adeyemi and our offers coming in for them, or are we trying to offload them? But they're also fully capable of playing in a striker role too, especially if we want to roll like 2 strikers up top. Like, they're both pretty comfortable playing with that kind of style or in that kind of position.
Well, yeah, I know Bayer was with the national team this summer for the Euros, and I don't think he made much of any appearances outside of one match. It was like right under like a half hour or something like that. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I'm also curious to hear about the future of Malen as well, right? I mean, they've both very similar play styles. Adeyemi as well. I mean, you don't want to be too redundant with just those 3 players. Bayer is, again, 6 foot tall, but he's got a similar frame in terms of just like he's pretty thin, similar to Adeyemi, also similar to Malen too. So as these next last 2 weeks in the transfer window come into fruition, it's, even though we had a tremendous window so far and it's a night and day difference compared to last summer, we still have a lot of work to do in terms of just how we're going to have this team settle and start to gel going into the new season, because it's coming up on us quick.
Yeah, if anyone else has thoughts, like, who do you want to see starting this weekend in Bundesliga match day 1, please drop those.
Some Malins from Chaz.
Yeah, Malen Pokal legend. Yeah, let's talk. You want to move on, talk about other signings? I don't think Pascal Gross had signed when we last recorded. Like, it was pretty imminent. We saw it was coming. And then the other one is Jan Couto. Do you want to start with him first?
Yeah, I've said it before. I'm going to be honest. I don't watch much of any of the Spanish division, so I didn't get to see Couto play too much this past season, but I have seen just, his numbers on paper, and he absolutely looks promising. I'm stepping back and just looking at a little bit more of a general sense. I'm really happy that this club not only had clear targets in mind at the start of this window, but had alternatives ready to go whenever they couldn't match these asking prices for the likes of Matson, Kadioglu. I mean, a handful of others that we looked at for fullbacks, right? I mean, some like really established players that we needed to not only relieve the pressure of Ryerson, because that man is basically playing both wings at this point outside of Matson. But we have no idea how Bensebaini is going to perform this season. I mean, at most, I wouldn't say at best. Maybe that's a little harsh, but, he could be very mid again. Who knows? So the fact that we have Couto to, relieve some pressure for Ryerson to play on that right-hand side, to be the attacking fullback and make things happen going forward, and Ryerson to bring a little bit more of that stability on the left side, which is like, you could argue Rierson's best side. I think he's a fantastic right back, but man, you put him on the left and he consistently performs over there as well. So I'm imagining, depending on how Bensebaini is performing this first month or two, if he's fit and healthy, we'll see how the competition goes between those 3 when it comes to starting fullbacks. I mean, Rota's out the door too. Well, been out the door for quite some time now. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, we got to hit on Rota too, which kind of came out of nowhere. I think a lot of people were expecting him to come in and almost be our starting left back. He was really consistent, uh, or he had a really good season last year with Holston Kiel. They obviously got promoted. It wouldn't have surprised me if they wanted to loan him back there again. Surprised that we sold him. Like I was expecting maybe another loan, like let him keep getting minutes with Holston Kiel in that system that he's familiar with. Because he's still so young, and we were saying it last year. Like I was mad when we sent him on loan because just like body count, like how many bodies we need, and now we're in a similar position where we have 3 fullbacks now. Like I'm still sad about Rota going off to Union Berlin. I'm excited to see him like just see his career and see how it unfolds. I don't remember I don't think there was a buyback option in there. Like
there was, I can't remember what
okay.
it was though, to be honest with you. And Rota mentioned that like in a brief statement. I don't know if it was an extensive interview or not, but he was saying like, if in the future, if Dortmund still has interest in me, that's a window or a door that I have not permanently closed. I'm paraphrasing there, of course, but at least we're seeing that maybe in the future, if stars align, we could have him back. I'd love to see him back. But at the time being, I understand. I should back up and say, like, this isn't us forcing Rota out by any means. He came to Sahin, he came to Kale whenever he returned and said, look, I need playing time. And if that's not going to happen at a consistent level, I need to go elsewhere. And Dortmund granted them that wish.
Yeah, which is, I feel like he would have got plenty of playing time. And I know like him being still so young, like I understand the coaching staff not even wanting to put him in that position where it's like, you are going to be our starting left back with those kind of expectations at the beginning of the season. I think he probably would have had to fight for it, but I think that's a fight he probably could have won if Benzabaini is his competition. I do want to kind of shift to Jan Kuto though, and shout out Zach M, who said we still didn't get a Matson replacement, which I agree. And I still think we're down bodies, especially sending out Tom Rota. I kind of feel like in my mind, when Tom Rota was coming back, that kind of filled that role, although I was still devastated to see Matson go. Kind of fun watching him again in the preseason game against Aston Villa, getting a little cooked by Duranville.
Yeah.
And then just the savage move of Dortmund to actually post that. Like,
I know. I couldn't believe it either. And the emoji too. I mean, hell, I quoted it and posted it myself too. So, I was also a little shocked, and I didn't watch too much of that game because it was at the same time as the women's Olympic gold match. So I had like 2 screens, but I was mostly focusing on obviously just the women's for the just competitive aspect. But I did hear some whistles whenever Matson came on initially, which was a little surprising given, I mean, I don't have to speak on too much of why the fan base loved him. And I don't have to repeat myself for the 50th time saying he should have been the number 1 priority. And he was arguably, he just couldn't match that price. But yeah, it's a shame that we haven't found a replacement for him, but looks like we're still in the market for a left back at the moment. I don't know exactly who that's going to be at the moment.
Yeah, I did see for the left back specifically, I saw like a rumor even earlier today. The journalist on Twitter, I don't remember his name, and I'm not going to pull it up because he just didn't seem that reputable. Like, I don't know. It wasn't anyone crazy big who is saying it. So, I mean, it might move forward. I don't know, but it seems like they might still be looking, but I would also argue, I think we still need another fullback, but I kind of argue that Jan Kuto is almost the Matson replacement. No, he's not the left back, but
right.
Like it wouldn't surprise me if we see, like you mentioned earlier, Rierson playing on the left and Jan Kuto on the right. I feel like they're kind of a similar profile. We did mention earlier, like he played in the Spanish league. He was on loan from Man City. So he was a Man City player. That's where he technically bought him from, but he did have 2 consistent seasons on loan in La Liga. And I think, I mean, the fact that Man City did buy, he's one of their players that they've had rostered and loaned him out. Like they obviously saw something in him enough. And I don't like Man City. Like I don't care for him at all, but they are pretty good at identifying players. They're also pretty good at just spending a ton of money to get the best players, but they do like to kind of stockpile these players, sit them out on loan, see if they're going to be good, and then sell them off for a big chunk of money. And the fact that he was even in that ballpark or under their system, and he had consistent performances, I feel like he's going to fit our style more than Man City probably. And I feel like will fit in with the Bundesliga pretty well. And I don't know, just reminds me a little bit like Matson, and so I think that's almost the Matson replacement. You're just throwing him on the other side, and we have because before this I would argue Rierson is our starting right back, but now it wouldn't surprise me if we see him a little more on the left, just because bringing Jan Couto in. I love Rierson so much, so I don't love just him having to be that swing man and in the backup. I understand people want maybe someone who's a little more prolific or a little more skillful, but he's always just given us so much fight. And yeah, I like Rierson so much, so maybe we'll see him on the left, because I don't have a lot of faith in Benzabahini going into this season.
I don't think a lot of people do. And Chaz here mentioned about Couto's pace as well. I think that's another aspect that we're looking at in terms of just like the qualities of a player that we're wanting if we cannot get Matson, right? And pace is one of those things. I think that's one of the very, very few, and I'm not trying to sound too biased, but I think that's one of the very few not even a weakness, but qualities that Rierson does not have is just his pace. You know, he's not slow by any means, but he's not near that pace of Matson or Couto. And I've said a million times before too that Rierson is consistently underrated when it comes to just being on the ball. I mean, he is created a number of chances for us. He's a decent crosser. He's scored a handful of goals this year for us, one of them being at Bayern to give us the first win against Bayern in several years now. So, just don't underestimate Rierson when it comes to being an attacking-minded fullback.
I mean, he scored that 70-yard run.
Yeah, the dash against Hoffenheim. Yeah,
that was on the left. I'm just saying, put him on the left, let him cook.
Yeah,
we'll run past everybody.
Run through a few more of the signings here. Who was it that mentioned it in the chat? I think it was Alex talking about Gross. I'm absolutely really, really excited for him too. I think he's, like Alex mentioned, he's going to be one of the most, if arguably the most impactful player for this team for this new season. I mean, I'm not saying his quality is just that insane, but he is a very proven, versatile, extremely intelligent German central midfielder. And for the last 2 seasons now, this team has struggled tremendously at building from the back, connecting passes in the midfield, just simply looking competent, even in the most mild sense when it comes to just, again, connecting passes in the midfield. And Gross is going to be that player. We've already seen that in just some small aspects here in these friendlies. And I'm really excited for him as well. He's going to be a huge help and could be a player that could be plugged into the back line too, right? I mean, he's played at left back for Brighton. He's played at right back. He's played at the 10. He could be 8. At times I've seen him as a 6 too. So he's going to be definitely, being worked a lot this season for Dortmund for sure.
Yeah, I was going to mention his versatility and kind of just one of those utility players, but just solid all around. We mentioned it a couple different times. Like I think some people might slightly be concerned with his age. I'm not. Like, he had a great season with Brighton in the Premier League. I think he even came out today, or at least I saw the quotes today, that it was an interview with him. I don't know if it was on Dortmund's app or site or wherever. I just saw it on Twitter where I see everything. But Brighton wanted him to stay. And I appreciate that he wanted to come back when the offer was there to come home to Dortmund, and try to help this club win something. He even called out winning. I think the question was what would be more special, winning a 2026 World Cup, or winning with Dortmund? And he said, well, you can't run off the World Cup. That's obviously top of the top, but yeah, it'd be really, really special winning something with Dortmund, specifically the Bundesliga title. And yeah, I think he's just such a good player. He's so reliable and versatile, and he's just one of those guys where his leadership is something I think we're going to need, and it's going to be huge.
Oh yeah. And I know a big reason that Brighton wanted to keep him, the name is escaping now, but St. Pauli, their coach, after promoting St. Pauli, went to Brighton this year, and he's German as well. So I get wanting that German connection there. But also, I mean, Gross, just from a handful of the photos I've seen, it looks like he's been a Dortmund fan since he was a young little lad as well. So, I mean, he's not only hype about going back home to his home country, but also to a very established, proven club like Dortmund, the biggest club in the world, and yeah, very excited for Gross as well. And like you mentioned too about, his age, he only signed a 2-year contract with, I think, an additional year if we want to. So this isn't a huge investment for him to be playing till he's 38 or anything like that. 33 to 35 is still absolutely an age. And in this day and age where you can still produce numbers, especially just as the role that he plays.
Yeah, and I think we all agree that we probably want a few different midfield options in there, but we are pretty like deep in our midfield. Not is everyone reliable? No, but like one, I think he is a reliable and durable player. But even if like he needs a break here and there, and I don't see that really happening. Like I think he's going to get a lot of minutes still. But it's like we have some bodies in there. We still have Sally Ocean. We have Mecha. Maybe he'll have a better season this year. I don't know. Gio Reyna is still around.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this in the chat. Quick thoughts on Gio Reyna. I've asked it before on the podcast, but now that I have everyone live and send it in comments, do you see Gio Reyna stay in this season? Do you see him having an impact this season with Dortmund potentially? He's been, I know early on in the preseason he wasn't getting any minutes, but he had a couple of appearances towards the end. So let me know your thoughts on him. Let me know where you see him fitting in, if so. But we still got Sabitzer. Chan's sticking around. Chan also looks like still got the captain's armband, which is just interesting with me. Like for me, seeing because Pascal Gross coming in, I would not see him taking the captain's armband necessarily, but I would see him playing a lot more minutes than Chan. What's your comparison there?
Well, I mean, Chin is obviously a lot more of like a pure number 6. He's going to be more of like the muscle for that role. When it comes to just any sort of competency on the ball, Gross is just kind of knocks him out of the park. So, I mean, it depends what kind of midfield that Shaheen wants to set up in, right? I mean, I think the likes of Savitz are still being in the squad and him just growing in terms of form and just love for the club and vice versa for the fans loving him. I mean, Savitzer I was always pretty psyched to begin with when he signed, but I'm only loving Sabitzer more and more as time goes on. So I'm really curious to see how this midfield is going to shape up as the season goes on here. And I mean, I'm not sure if Reyna playing the past few friendlies is like us just trying to build some fitness, show him off to maybe get some sort of fee off of him. But at the same time, I mean, if Gross is going to be more of the 8, sometimes 6, and then a fullback if we need, we don't really have another number 10 at the moment that can do what Brandt does outside of Reyna. You know, I mean, Brandt is ahead of Reyna in a lot of aspects of the game. I'm not denying that, but Reyna can absolutely still, produce. I don't have to mention that too many times either. It's just, a matter of how can Reyna conduct himself in terms of professionalism and, just with his management and everything. But if he can keep that and just in tune and everything, I think he could still be a solid number 10, at least until we figure out what we want to do with him in long term.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we'll go to the chat real quick because we do have some comments coming in. Jake says, how is he still on the team? I'm assuming that's for Reyna because that was pretty much the first comment that came in. Alex Dawson said he would much rather get Reyna minutes than Mecha. Zach M said he's literally Captain America. And then there's another one from another Andrew who said, I think he'll stay and get minutes because we don't have other options really at the 10.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah, just kind of read your comment, didn't I, Andrew? I'm sorry.
And then Chaz, not Geo specific, well, not Geo at all, but he said, I forgot Metchas was on the team.
I'm gonna start using that, Chaz. Thank you.
Lisa who says, I don't see Reyna having an impact unless there's at least 2 players injured. I do agree that him getting featured is very much kind of putting him in the shop window. I've said it before. I would like for him to stay. I would like for him to be an impact player. If that's not going to happen, I understand if he's got to move on. The loan last year, it wasn't a great loan for him, but like that's just the writing's on the wall, right? Like they kind of let him go out. So although, I mean, we do have a coaching change, right? We do have Shaheen, so maybe he values him a little more. We just have to wait and see. And I know we're kind of hitting on the midfield and what that might look like. I do put you on the spot. I didn't put this in our notes, but do kind of at the end, we can do a starting 11, preferred starting 11 / starting 11 prediction. Because I think that the midfield is an interesting look. But after that, I mean, you want to talk Anton?
We got a few more signings here. I do want to talk about Anton. Yeah. We've needed another center back for quite some time now. I mean, arguably longer than this show is existence even. And the fact that we got a captain from the team that placed second last year, a team that was consistently performing better than us, even against us for like a year and a half almost. at this point. I mean, Anton's going to be a good signing. He's got plenty of national team caps. He was also with Germany for the Euros this year and had a handful of games. Him and Schlotterbeck can form that partnership. Sula, it seems like he's a lot more motivated this year. We've seen a handful of quotes in interviews. He seems like he's really, really focused in for trying to prove himself here. So that'll be good competition for Anton and Sula for that right center back role. But either way, I mean, it's nice to have another ball playing defender on the team now that we've lost the likes of Hummels. I mean, we've lost a lot of qualities in terms of Hummels leaving the club, but Anton is definitely going to pick up some of that slack for the back line, and I'm excited to see how he performs too at this level.
Yeah, I'm really excited for him coming in. I think he's such a solid. I mean, like you mentioned, like his achievements with Stuttgart last year. The fact that he went to the Euros also means he has a little more familiarity with Schlotterbeck. So hopefully their partnership can just get going from the start. Hopefully they already have that built up, that little bond working. And I don't know, maybe in the Euros, maybe there was talk of that move, and they were already talking a lot about it. So I think, obviously, with how Hummels left and then Anton coming in, I do think there's some people who are probably a little still upset. Like, I think you can't argue that Anton's not going to be a great center back for us. It was just so hard losing Hummels. Although I think if we would have gone into the season, we probably did go into the season thinking it might be Hummels last, right? But we never had that official announcement. We never really knew. And with his performance throughout the season, especially in Champions League, it obviously made it a lot harder that we weren't able to lock him in or get him to stay for another year. And then he walked. But I think if we knew ahead of time that Hummels was going to leave and we had Anton lined up, like, we'd all be very happy with this guy coming in for that role. So I'm really excited to. They're just with all these signings, like, these are all players that I say we expect to be starters or at least really big contributors, and that's kind of what you want when you're signing guys, right? Like, we already talked about Pascal Gross, Jan Couto probably going to be hopefully the starting right back. I mean, obviously him and Reese are going to be fighting. Maybe that switches with who we're playing. Anton slots right in. Girassi, when he's healthy, right up at the top. Max Bayer contributing in pretty heavy minutes. Maybe not always a starter, but there's just so much change going into the season. It's feels so uncertain, and a lot of stuff is up in the air because, like, are we going to click? Are we going to gel? Are we going to be able to put it together? That is the question mark with Anton, but I don't question his quality. It's just a matter like, will it work, and will it work immediately? Because we're going to need it to work right off the bat. Like we talked about with the fullbacks, we have 3 fullbacks. We basically have 3 center backs, this has been running the last few years. It's our running joke. When we did the last podcast, everyone was giving me shit because we said I said something about Koulibaly and I want him to stick around, and everyone said he was gone. He had already signed with a club, but I don't know. He's still on the roster for now, so I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, it fell apart now I'm blanking on where he was going to go, and that deal fell through here. I do want to address a few things in the chat here. It looks like Zach was asking if we're going to preview the Pokal and have any score predictions. Yeah, we're just going to wrap up these last few signings here and then move on there. And then another comment here about just like investment this summer versus last year. I've already mentioned it's night and day. I mean, I shouldn't speak for you. I have spent way too much time the last calendar year complaining about this club's lack of investment in this squad since last summer. I mean, that was, I could be misremembering, but I think that was the worst summer I've seen from Dortmund since being a supporter in the last 11 or 12 years or so. We've had some stinkers over the years. We've had some bad signings over the years. I think last summer was hands down the worst summer that I witnessed, and just in terms of just the investment in this squad and just being really having no direction of how we want to proceed, of, tying Bayern on points and bottling the league. We were right there. We had a game in our hands at home. All we had to do was our job. And I don't have to relive that, nightmare of a day, as much, but going into the summer, I thought we were going to really build on what we had, and we completely fell apart. We had little to no plan. We gave a lot of power to Terzic. He completely mishandled it, put us in a hole in terms of Mecha. very underwhelming signings outside of that. So the fact that this year, like I said, we had some clear targets in mind, we had contingency plans whenever we couldn't match the prices of some of those players. We have a clear mindset of how we want to play, which is you're seeing like the player profiles we're picking up, some really good deals. With the release clause at Girassi, Anton's a pretty good pickup and also a solid bargain as well. We're making some really, really smart moves this summer, and it just makes me excited again to see this team perform here this season.
Yeah, I agree, and maybe you already shouted him out, but someone saying like this was such a good transfer window, and I mean we already talked about 5 signings, right? And we don't have a name yet. It looks like, but if we get another fullback in, which I still think we need, that like that's a huge window. The sad part is like this is just the state of the club. We still feel like we need more, but that's just the overhaul we've been needing to do the last couple of years, and now we're finally doing it. I like that you mentioned like the plan. Like it seems like we have a plan and purpose. Like we've very much hit positions that even us, the fans, feel that we need. And I already mentioned it. We're already still a little short, but that's just because we need a huge overhaul, and maybe we'll be able to get some stuff done in the winter window if needed later on. But yeah, like it's been an awesome window, and I like I already mentioned the Max Bayer and him being a younger profile. Like I love that move. I like Jan Couto, kind of fits that too. And then sorry, my dog's barking downstairs. But yeah, no, it's a good window. I don't think you can be too mad about it. So I had a coworker, a friend, who mentioned when we were sitting or when Fulkrug signed for West Ham, and he's like, "Oh no, like what's going on here? Why would you let him leave?" Because it was my coworker. We were very much would watch Champions League games together, like in the office, and so every time Fulkrug stepped up and did something, we're like, "God, he's so awesome. He's been so awesome." But he didn't know that we signed Girassi, so I was like, "No, like Dortmund's been kind of quiet. It's not quiet when we signed 5 guys, but I think the rest of world football, we've been quietly cooking over here and bringing in some really, really solid guys." So
that's how it usually goes. I mean, I think that's whenever Dortmund is having a really, really good window is whenever we're quiet the cooking. I think that's like the perfect way of describing it, really. And just like in general, we are much more proactive rather than being reactive. We have the plan in mind, which I don't want to keep rehashing that. I do want to mention this last signing before we move on to the Pokal here, who needs no introduction. Serhu Girassi, second leading scorer in the league. I mean, he has been an absolute monster for Stuttgart. Of course, he has an injury that's going to have him sidelined for, I don't know. I mean, the timeline's kind of changing by the day. We're looking at maybe a few more weeks. I know initially there was like a report that said like over a month or so, and then he himself tweeted saying like that's not true. I don't know if he's going to be back sooner than
the club put out content too. They've been putting out content of him like not training, but doing fitness stuff and getting back into it to, I think, kind of quell those rumors of like, it's going to be a long time. It's like, no, he's moving, he's active, he's getting there. So,
right. Very excited. Please feel free to throw any thoughts on Girassi in the chat here. Chaz most excited about him. I mean, he's going to light this league up. I'm wondering if anybody also wants to throw in the chat how many goals they think he might get this season. I'm not sure if it's going to be, and I think I mentioned this already last episode. I don't know if it's going to be as many as last year, but I'm thinking it's going to be at least 17 or 18. I think that's a pretty easily achievable number, especially to maybe a handful of assists if we're going to run a 2-striker system at times, and as well as like the likes of Malin, Adeyemi really like to run off of those target players. I think that was arguably our funnest to watch under Terzic, at least for me personally. Whenever you had the likes of Malin, Adeyemi running off of Haller, I think you're going to see. I think you can see the success of them doing the same thing for Girassi. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for his link-up play. Obviously, a proven goal scorer too. He seems like a fun guy off the pitch. A very exciting signing, and like I mentioned too already, like a complete bargain as well. I think was it 17.5 million was his release clause. I mean, that's huge for being, the number one striker behind Harry Kane in the Bundesliga.
It's pretty insane. Like I do understand some cause I think I felt this way a little bit, like a little not. Like, I'm excited for Girassi, little like hesitant just because the injury right off the bat has like quelled expectations and excitement. and because I just like Fulkrug so much. But I think he can come in if he comes back and he's able to get through this injury. Yeah, he can be great. And I do have like faith and trust in Shaheen. Shout out to someone, I think Alex Dawson started it talking about, am I delusional? And then everyone else was chiming in. Literally everyone else chiming in saying, we're Dortmund fans. Of course we're delusional along those lines. Like,
and that's okay.
Have I
like
seen
Postecoglou said for Spurs, let the fans have their fun, right?
Have I seen much from Nurhi Shaheen? No. Do I have complete faith that he's got a system that's going to work flawlessly? Hell yes, I do. Because we're Dortmund fans. But I mean, we have had these last few years where it's like we don't know how to play with a striker. It's like we had Modeste, and it's like you can't even get him the ball.
Oh my God,
you can't even put it on his head. Yeah, you forgot about that guy. Can't even put it. Well, I think we did an episode where I completely forgot his name. So I don't know where I pulled that from. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, we're going to have it all figured out. It's going to be great. I do want to, this isn't a new signing, but I do want to shout out Duranville, who's been kind of cooking in preseason.
Yep. I mean, it's been 2 years now. I hope he's ready, for God's sake.
It looks like he's ready. If, for the love of God, he can stay healthy, because it's like, I don't know how a 16-year-old does his whole hamstring. It's like your hamstring should be perfectly fine for at least 10 more years. Chill, kid.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was his hamstring or his knee or something, but it's like, whatever is it, you should not be having season-long injuries when you're like 16.
Right.
So hopefully he can stay healthy, because he's been looking really good, and that's really exciting. I think just hitting quickly, like we've talked about him before, but JBG, now just Gittins. It's going to be weird to just call him Gittins. Change his name from Bino Gittins on his kit to just Gittins. But I don't know. I'm expecting an exciting breakout season from him too. Yeah, I don't know. Like we said, we're delusional. We're excited. But Duranville, I'm ready for Duranville to cook.
I think you could argue, though, that Gittins had his breakout season last year too, and it doesn't mean he can't build on that. His ceiling is, I don't even know where it is at this point. It's going to be much higher than I originally thought, honestly. But I mean, just him being so clutch in so many moments in the Champions League and really any competition. He's always had talent. He's always really impressed me ever since his debut, even. I remember a few years ago, whenever we were down at Bayern, and he was one of the very few bright spots whenever he came on and picked the team up whenever he was just, barely had any minutes in the Bundesliga. So, yeah, very excited for Gittins as well. I mean, I like I said, I would argue that he already had a breakout season, but I think this could be a season that he will absolutely build on.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. He was incredible last year. I think, and Alex just kind of shouted out, he said Duranville and JBG feel like they should be pushing for consistent starts. I'll say that, like JBG Gittins, consistent starts, or like being kind of one of the go-to wingers, starting over Adeyemi.
You got to see what happens to Malen, though, because I mean, he had a breakout year last year. I mean, for 2 years of me consistently shitting on him on the show, for any people tuning in for the first time or so, I mean, I was not a fan of Malen for a long time. Just obviously in terms of in terms of his sporting, but Malen really picked up the slack last year too, and it was absolutely clutch on numerous occasions as well. So again, good competition. It's a good problem for a coach to have.
Yep. All right. Moving on. What's next? I can't find.
We got the Pokal preview here. Yeah. If anybody wants to throw any score predictions in the chat while I just pull up some notes here I took, which is not many. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about Phoenix Lübeck, who were playing in the first round of the Pokal. This is only their third appearance in the Pokal in their history. Lübeck is a team that was founded in 1903, so over a century ago, and they've had, now of course the Pokal isn't that old, but 3 appearances in this competition. So I'm not going to pretend like I know much about them, but I mean, they're of course in the 4th tier German football. They placed 3rd last season, been promoted a handful of times over the last decade. And I've already also played a few competitive games in their division, which I think is something that we should be taking note of, given these lower divisions start in like the last week of July instead of us almost at the end of August. So they've been up and running for a while now. But I mean, that doesn't mean much in terms of us actually bottling anything. Jake in the previous stream for 50 Plus Don Air, shout out 50 Plus Don Air. He was saying this would be the biggest drop of gumbo in German football history if Dortmund were to lose this opening game in the Pokal. I don't disagree with him at all. I think even as a Dortmund fan, that would be absolutely hilarious if we did somehow bottle this. But we have seen top sides like the likes of Bayern Munich lose to 2nd and 3rd division teams Of course, now later in the competition, but it's not super uncommon. But I just think the overwhelming quality of Dortmund is just going to be way too much for them, even away. And either way, I'm excited to see us in our first competitive match this game. In terms of predictions outside of the scoreline, I'm thinking Rierson's going to return to this back line because I know Schlotterbeck played at left back last game against Villa, and then before that it was Ben Savaini. I'm imagining, me personally, I'm thinking Rierson's probably going to be on the left with Kuto on the right. Schlotterbeck locked in his place. I don't think there's any argument there. I'm imagining Anton at the moment. I haven't, as much as I still believe Sula's got a few seasons left in him, I don't think he's ready to take the place of a captain of the team that placed second last year. So that's my back line. Not really sure what the midfield's going to look like, but I think that's going to bring us a lot of stability that we need. Did you want to give any other thoughts while I look at some of these score predictions in the chat?
I was trying to, so they play in the regional Liga. I might be mispronouncing that. I believe I just tried to do a quick search of what tier that is. I believe it is the fourth tier. Yeah. So, and I do appreciate the poke. I like that the Pokal kind of starts the season, right? And when it's a team like this, it's almost like just an extended preseason match. I don't want to use that lightly because obviously it means something. It would be horrible if we went out in this match, but it is a good way for kind of still testing some guys out, letting some guys get a good run out and kind of fight for that spot in the first Bundesliga match. I do like that it is on a Saturday and it is the week before. So you could very much run out who you want to start the Bundesliga week as just getting in the routine, in the flow of your match week. But I think it is going to be, I think the backline will kind of be our, as you mentioned, I think the midfield will probably see guys who are trying to break through more. Someone did mention Vetchen, who we talked about a lot in the last podcast we did with the Dortmund Dispatch guys. We didn't mention him enough in this episode probably, but like quick shot for him. Also kind of like one of those, another signings who I'm really excited for. And currently, I think kind of roster with the first team. So he could be, I know we already wrapped up signings and everything. I won't talk about him too much. We've done it, but I'm excited. And I think we'll see a little bit of him this match. I think you're going to see the likes of Mecha, maybe Reina, and maybe Sally Ocean. You might see like Pascal Gross start, but I think you're kind of, the midfield will kind of be those guys fighting for a spot and trying to prove in this match. And then, yeah, up top, let's see Bayer. Let's just let him cook. Cause like, who else are you going to put there anyways?
That's the thing, right? Because again, I thought he was going to get a good amount of minutes, maybe later in the second half, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know where Mukoko's head is at. I mean, Haller, whoever really knows with him, he's been playing a lot this preseason, so maybe Haller is ready to go. And I still love the man, so I'm absolutely fine with giving him another chance. But I'm not sure who the striker is going to be for this Pokal game. I do want to just real quick, the chat is absolutely unhinged. I think I saw one person, which is Chaz, predicting a clean sheet. Everyone else thinks we're going to concede 1 or 2 goals against a 4th division.
What I feel like that's
we went from delusional thinking we're going to win the league to conceding a few goals early on in this against this sort of competition. Cheers, everyone.
I think we did. Didn't we concede in the Pokal match last year? That was against some maybe third, probably
Shot Mainz.
Yeah,
I can't remember if that was the first game of if that was round 1 of the Pokal, but I can't remember the score of that one. Honestly, we might have.
But I don't know. So shout out Sooner Verder, who I know he's not a Dortmund fan because I saw one comment where he said, "All right, since you're all Dortmund fans," or something like that. But he predicted that we're going to win 14-2. Maybe he predicted that's a loss. I don't know. I could be wrong there. Maybe.
Jake, did you have any score predictions for this game?
I think it should be 4-0, like minimum.
Minimum, really?
4-0. I think 4-0 would be good.
Given the striker situation that I just mentioned, I don't think it's going to be a goal fest, but I do think it's going to be pretty clear cut and dry. I'm going to go with a 3-0. Like everyone else here, I think our defense is going to be stable enough to hold off Lubeck. I mean, I could be totally wrong, and I could be back here next week with piss on my face. That's happened more than plenty of times on occasion.
We conceded against that like amateur influencer team, but we were also playing like our youth team, basically, I think, when that happened.
Right. That's all we had for the Pokal preview. As we wrap up here, if we had like a little Q&A session for these last 5, maybe 10 minutes. If anybody has any questions for us, it could be about Dortmund, it could be about us, it could be about really whatever you want. If anybody has any thoughts, throws them in the chat. I do want to mention Nathan from Borussia STL. He is on a mission for a country road trip to visit every single Dortmund fan club in the country, which is quite the journey. I think it's an awesome thing to do. So shout out for him. I know he's been reaching out to some fan clubs across the country to just kind of link and see what's good. And then he can obviously meet up with them. So if anybody has any connections to certain fan clubs in your area, please feel free to look at the Borussia STL Twitter page and reach out for him, because I'm sure he'll be reaching out to a lot of clubs here in the next few months whenever he starts that trip. Outside of that, 100 episodes, Jake, this is crazy. Having a core group of listeners week in and week out, no matter how big or small, has been really, really cool. I cannot express enough of my sincere gratitude for anyone that's ever given us a spin, whether it's for a few seconds or for a whole episode. I really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us and hang out with us. It's just been very fun, and I can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, it is weird that we've made it this far. And I've talked about a lot, like how Carver and I started this podcast, but I know we're always getting new people listening. So I will just, and I won't get into all of it, but
tell the story, Jake. Tell it.
I'll tell all the story. Well, it's certainly like Carver and I did not know each other that well, really. Like we had a mutual friend. Carver and I used to both DJ very randomly. It wasn't random at the time, but like looking back, it's like, that's kind of how we
met. Chaz is the DJ, by the way. I haven't mentioned that to him yet, but
yeah, Carver and I DJ. That's kind of how we knew each other, because we had a mutual friend, and we obviously talked soccer a little bit at some point. I just remember texting Carver and being like, "Hey, you like Dortmund, right?" And again, we did not know each other that well, but I really just wanted to start a podcast, and I was like, well, I like Dortmund, so maybe, and I thought Carver liked Dortmund.
Because I worked in radio too. I worked in radio a good decade. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked in radio, so I had like the audio experience, but I knew I couldn't just start a Dortmund podcast because I wasn't like a Dortmund expert. I hadn't been a fan that long, but I thought Carver was. Carver, yeah, if you listen to this podcast, you know Carver is. So, but it literally started with a random text. I'm like, "Hey man, you like Dortmund, right?" And then we were just talking. I was like, "You want to start a podcast?" And then I don't know, it just kind of went from there.
We got together. We went to famous soccer bar here in town, Amsterdam Tavern. Just waxed and gabbed it up for the evening. And then I met you at the studio, and you're like, let's just do it and see where we go. And then we finished the first step, and you're like, let's upload it. And I was like, all right.
We're like,
we'll just throw it into the void and see what's out there.
No pressure. It's fine. And like, I remember thinking too, like, because again, Carver and I had not spent a lot of time together, and it can be weird talking to people. Mm-hmm. And it was just very much like, yeah, we'll record, see how it goes. And then I think we went like an hour nonstop. Like it went so great. And that is the episode 1 that is live on our feed. Like and we just haven't stopped since. Like, yeah, we take some breaks here and there, especially in the off season, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It's cool. And now I talk to Carver more than probably anyone else. He'll argue that I don't text him back frequently enough because I'm a horrible texter. But on a week-to-week basis during the season, I talk to Carver more than anyone else.
Let's get a few questions here from Andrew. He said, which one of our young players between Duranville, Vachin, or Kabar will impress the most this season? Great question, Andrew. I think this question depends on... my first instinct is going to go Duranville for some reasons that we already mentioned here. But none of these people are a bad shout. I am interested to see how much playing time Kabar is going to get. If he's going to be someone that Shaheen is going to seriously consider, then I think he could be in the running, because we only have really one left back at the moment. One natural left back, a left-footed left back. So it just depends how much Shaheen actually fancies him and where injuries line up, right? This team for quite some time now. Towards the end of the season, it got a little bit better, but we had like a 1.5 year long crisis of, just horrendous lineups with just so many people missing for so long. So if that were to happen again, and we need to reach into our academy and our second team, Kabar can absolutely be the player that can step up for that. But I'm gonna go Duranville. With my instinct is going to go Duranville and then Vachin and then Kabar. Jake, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm the same. I think what we've already seen from Durnville, like, he can play. I think it's more of a matter of him staying healthy and being able to get some consistent minutes. I don't think he's going to be starting a ton of games, maybe just come on some sub appearances here and there. But I think if he can consistently play week in, week out, like even a few minutes, like he's going to impress a lot. I know he's already impressed people preseason when he has made very few limited appearances. He's got some really good skill. So I think he will be the most impressive if he can stay healthy. My heart, though, I've been hyping up Vetchin so much. It's purely because, if you haven't heard me mention it before, it's purely because it was such a nice moment seeing like Marco Royce retiring and this young central midfielder coming in. It was very much a pass the baton thing, and I just want that to go. And he was very impressive too in those couple matches that he played. I'm really excited for him. So I hope he does get some good minutes this year, because I kind of want it to be him. I think it's going to be Durnville. I think he's a little closer if, again, he can stay healthy.
Durnville's got the most senior experience, which is not much, right? Because he's missed like 3/4 of the last 2 calendar years.
I would be curious, because you probably find this out pretty easily. Like, did Durnville play, or what did Vetchin play more minutes than Durnville? Because he started a
now
game.
that I'm thinking about it, Durnville only played. I genuinely think he only played like 15 minutes this entire past season. So it might be Vetchin, because Vetchin did start playing, some senior football towards the end of this season.
I think it was the last.
I think he started against Mainz too. So
yeah, look at
maybe. Andrew, let me know what you think as I go through this other question here from Zach, asking just season predictions in terms of the Bundesliga, Champions League, and the Pokal. We did touch a little bit about these last episode with some friends at Dortmund Dispatch. Bundesliga, I'll keep it short. I think we either finish second or third. I do think we're better looking at Bayern for the first time in 12 years, probably. I think just in terms of management, in terms of squad, in terms of coach, I'm not having to go at company, but I just think Shaheen maybe is a little bit better right now. Company got Burnley relegated. He got him promoted too, so I guess it's fair. But either way, I think we're going to finish second or third in the league. In terms of Champions League, I don't know if we're definitely not going to. I can't imagine us making the final or even that deep of a run for like a semis. But I'm hoping we can get into the second half of the stage for that competition. And then I've been saying for this summer, I want to see another deep Pokal run. It's been 3 years now since we won the Pokal. Even since then, it's been that long since we've even got a sniff at the final or even semifinals. It's been very, very underwhelming ever since then. We've been knocked out by second division clubs. We've been knocked out by clubs that are a lot less just in terms of quality than us. Stuttgart has bossed us around for a while now. So I'm expecting, I'm predicting, and I'm hoping we will have a deep Pokal run.
Yeah, I'll say hoping. I want to win the Pokal like that. I want to set that expectations, because I think, it can be so good for the club. Again, I just want to see us win a trophy. And I think we're good enough to do it. Although we already talked about everything that's up in the air with this. You don't really know how this is going to go. But like we said, we're Dortmund fans. We're delusional. I think we're good enough, and we should win the Pokal. Champions League.
That should be the follow-up anytime. Wait, are you a Dortmund fan? Yeah, I'm delusional. Oh, all right.
Bundesliga, I agree. Like, I would be hyped to get second. I hope we can get third. I think you're right about Bayern. Is could be a basket case this year again. So we'll see. The
FC Hollywood
is like, if they're a basket case, we got to capitalize. We got to be better than them.
We do, but when it comes to just, I'm saying that when we have Mislintat on our team, just at the club, who was already fired like 3 months into his job. So I'm kind of talking out of my ass here, but I think in general, I think we just look much more of a competent club at the moment. Bayern have just offloaded De Ligt. That's, in my opinion, a bit of a mistake, but also a great grab for Manchester United. Mazraoui is also out the door for them. So, their back line is looking a little scarce as well. Now you're looking at the team going like, for the back line, it's like, oh my God, now it's just like Eric Dyer. Upamecano has taken a few steps back here in the past few years, and at least in my personal opinion. You have Kim still, of course, too, but I just think generally this squad is starting to look a little bit better on paper.
Yeah. I do. So we said earlier, and I think before we go, I want to do like your preferred starting 11, because someone did ask really early on, and I I took that and I was like, that's a good way to end the episode. We did also get a question from Lisu. As far as the lineup, like, do you see us posting up in a 4-5-1 or 4-4-2 to best utilize the offensive players? I'll just say, and maybe you take this as the 4-5-1, because my prediction is going to be like 4-3-3, kind of in that realm, or a 4-1-4-1. The thing with formations, I myself, you get so hung up on formations and how a team appears to roll out, but like realistically, those change so much depending on like offense and defense and game situation. So like I always try to like bring my expectations down, or like not hinge so much on what I think the formation is, or what the TV says the formation is, or what FootMob says the formation is. Cause like, honestly, you can't really predict what they're going to do. And it's always so not circumstantial, but maybe that is the right word. I don't know. It just, those formations really change so much. The shape changes so much throughout a match. So I'm just going like 4-3-3. I can roll with mine, unless you're ready for yours, like your preferred starting 11.
I've already talked about my back line. Kobal's a lock-in at goal. We have seen Shaheen test out the 4-3-3 a good amount this summer. I'm stuck on the midfield. I mean, there's so many, and again, a good problem to have for a coach. But
this is your preferred though. Who do you want to see?
As much as I love Gross, I'm gonna have Chan at the 6. Even though I'm not a huge fan of him, I just think he's literally the only pure number 6 in this team. So I'm gonna have him there. I want Gross in the starting lineup. I want Gross in the starting lineup on a consistent basis. I think Brandt has gotten better. I mean, obviously he's gotten better in all aspects of his game, but I think he's also really started to adapt really well to that almost number 8 at times. So I'm going to go with Brandt in the midfield with Gross. And it sucks because then now that's 3 already. And you're like, Sabitzer should be in there too. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't really have an answer for the midfield at the moment. And then in terms of our attack, Girassi is not healthy at the moment, but my preferred, once he's fit and healthy, I'm going to go Girassi up top. I'm going to have Mullen on the right. I'm going to have JBG on the left.
All right. I am going Kobel in goal, obviously, if that wasn't a given, if that wasn't mentioned.
It was. I said he's a lock.
All right. Jan Kuto on the right. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him start immediately, just kind of adapting this system. Maybe he will. I just feel like this is, anytime a new player comes in, I'm still like, I'm going to give him some time. But we'll see. Jan Kuto on the right. Anton Schlotterbeck, center backs. And I'm going to say Rierson on the left for now, unless we bring in TBD.
Yeah,
fullback.
Yeah,
I would much rather prefer Rierson on the pitch than Benzabaini. My midfield, I am going to go 4-2-3-1. Again, shifts a ton and moves. But I think Pascal Gross and Sabitzer, 2 deeper midfielders.
It's not a bad shout. I mean, just basically 2 8s, yeah.
Yeah, with Brandt in the 10.
Yep.
And then Mullen on the right. Girassi when he's healthy, as you mentioned. Bayer, I'll put Bayer up there right now. And then I like JBG on the left. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Adeyemi to start the season, but JBG on the left.
Bayer could easily take that spot as well. I mean, I know Bayer has been the center forward, that number 9, but if you look at it, he's got a heat map. He cuts in from the left very, very, very often. So, I mean, that's a position that he definitely is natural at as well. So I don't think that's a bad shout for him to even slot in on the left, depending on how the form goes for each of those attackers in the coming month or so. I mean, you can go a number of different ways with it.
I mean, I could also see like the 4-4-2 shot, like if that's something we kind of shift into during play sometimes, like with that, I could very much see if it's Bayer up top, like you see maybe Brandt going out wide on the right and Mullen stepping up as a second striker. Like I very much see that happening too. And that's where I also like Sabitzer and Pascal Gross. Like, sorry, Emre Can, but I'm like, Gross. We did see Sabitzer play a lot of more like kind of deep lying last year too. So that's where I feel like you get those two and kind of the holding or the pivot, the double pivot right there. And I don't know, that's my midfield.
All right. Well, we're running a little over an hour and 10 minutes here. Just want to say a sincere thank you to all of you again that tuned in tonight. all of you listening right now, just after the show has wrapped, maybe the next day, whenever you're listening to this. I cannot thank you guys enough. Again, sincere gratitude. The support has been overwhelming. It's been really cool to engage with each and every one of you around the globe for this club that we all love. Please feel free to keep joining in. We're wanting to do more live streams like this now that we've kind of got our feet in the water a little bit. This one, and then I did one with Jake from 50 Plus Donner earlier in the year. I'm definitely looking to do more live streams with games. I'd love to do some watch alongs with people as the season progresses. But either way, this was a hell of a time. This is really fun.
Yeah, this was great. It is nice. It's nice doing a podcast with some beer too. Sometimes we record at like 4 p.m. when I'm still at work though, so I can't really have a beer then. But no, this is great. And yeah,
we got to get up for an 8:30 game and crack one of these soju.
Yeah,
start the day off right.
I'm game for that sometime. But no, we appreciate you guys hanging out and listening. As always, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram if you don't already at the BVB Pod. Please get connected with our Discord, because that, especially in the off season, that's been one of the coolest ways to just stay connected with everyone. Like I kind of was off of Twitter and Instagram all off season. I was not keeping up with any transfers or anything, just kind of chilling, taking a break. But it's cool because I was still like very up to date with everything, with everyone chatting in our Discord. So you can join that with the link in the description of this episode. It'd be awesome. But yeah, follow us, join our Discord. Appreciate you guys hanging out, and we will be back next week. We'll see you guys later.